Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 20th, 2019 Pittsburgh Board of Education and Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Legislative Meeting. Before we begin this evening, I'd like to ask everyone to please turn off all cell phones or put them on vibrate. Would everyone please rise so we can salute the flag? I pledge allegiance. We have some special guests here to perform for us this evening. I will now turn this portion of the meeting over to Ms. Ebony Pugh.
Thank you, Mrs. Wren. After 16 years of combined service to this Board of Education, tonight we bid farewell to 3 women who have been advocates and community champions for their districts, this district, and the thousands of children they serve. A proud PPS graduate, Mrs. Maura B. Kalida is a proud graduate of the Pittsburgh Public Schools. Pittsburgh was sure to be, in fact. Since January 2018, Maura has served as the Chief of Staff to Pittsburgh City Councilman Anthony Coco, who also represents our southern neighborhoods in the city. In her 4 years on the board, Mrs. Kalida chaired the Policy Committee and co-chaired the Education Committee. She led efforts to adopt a new transgender and gender-expansive students policy that articulates how schools support the district's transgender students and gender-expansive students. Tonight, this may be her last board meeting, but she has left a mark for a lifetime. Please let's welcome, straight from District 6, Pittsburgh Carmel for a special performance.
Avinu sim shalom. Avinu sim shalom. Avinu sim shalom. Avinu sim shalom. Grant us blessing and goodness. Grant us blessing and peace. Grant us blessing and goodness. Grant us peace. Sim shalom lanu sim shalom. Sim shalom lanu sim shalom. Grant us blessing and goodness. Grant us blessing and peace. Grant us blessing and goodness. Grant us peace. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
Thank you, Pittsburgh Carmel, for that wonderful performance. Now, if Mrs. Kalida could please come up, we have some special remarks from Pittsburgh Brookline Principal John Vodder.
Good evening, board directors, Dr. Hamlet, executive board, and distinguished guests. I'm honored tonight to provide a few remarks on behalf of Mora Colada School Board Representative for District 6. The only good advice is a good example. You don't tell people a whole lot of anything, you show them by doing. You teach values by making choices, and people see what you do, and they make judgments on your actions. This quote by Ossie Davis sums up the work of Ms. Colada quite nicely. During the years we've worked together, I've come to respect the ability, good sense, and passion Mrs. Colada has for all students. She has demonstrated courage and clear vision. Her thoughts, ideas, and public comments have helped shape some very important district policies that have been used as a standard across our great state. Additionally, she has always respected the work of educating students, and she has been a champion for equity. In her heart, she's a volunteer and advocate for our students. My favorite quote from Elizabeth Andrew is a testament to Mrs. Colada. Volunteers don't necessarily have the time, they just have the heart. Active service to others helps us grow as individuals and makes the world a better place. Mrs. Colada could have been doing many other things with her valuable time, and we are grateful to her and her family for her dedication and service to the district. During her tenure, Mrs. Colada has been passionate about student rights, student voice, and student advocacy, with the main goal of ensuring opportunities for students to be themselves. It is for these reasons, coupled with her passion for social justice, that she is to be commended for a job well done. I now present to you this plaque as a testament of your tireless efforts and your service to the students and families of the Pittsburgh Public Schools.
Thank you, Principal Vaughter. Long before she was elected to the school board, Mrs. Linda Wren was an educator and parent advocate. The current board president raised 4 PPS graduates of her own. When her children were in school, she served as president of Pittsburgh Linden K-5 parent-teacher organization and as a member of the District Summer Dreamers Academy, the Gifted Education Task Force, and Parent Advisory Group member. She advocates for other PPS parents, represents District 4 on the board, and has served as the chair of the Communications and Marketing Committee, as well as co-chair of the Business Finance Committee. While today she will complete her one term as the board's president, we know she will always serve as an ally and friend to the district and parents citywide. Let's please welcome District 4, Pittsburgh Alderdice for a special performance.
We're going to be singing All My Trials, a spiritual said to be from the Bahamas.
If religion was a thing that money could buy, the rich would live and the poor would die. All my trials, Lord,
Thank you, Thank you, Pittsburgh Alderdice. That was just beautiful. So Mrs. Wren, if you could please come up here. We have a special presentation from Pittsburgh Alderdice Principal, Dr. James McCoy.
Yeah, the kids are incredible. I've been lucky to been hearing them for years, but Mr. Schreiber, what he's done with that group of students and over the past few years, it's been amazing. So looking forward to great things from all of them. But here tonight to thank our board president, Linda Wren. I've gotten to know you over the last couple of years, but I certainly wish it would have been longer. I had more time to get to know you. And certainly it's been a relationship of trust since I took over at Alderdice just a little over 2 years ago. While she always respected my ability to lead and make the best decisions for our students, I always knew if at any time I needed her, she was there to support me and for our kids. Knowing her also as a parent of Alderdice students, I know that she truly always had the students' best interests at heart. Ms. Wren, thank you for all you've done, all your wonderful service to our children. You will undoubtedly be missed. And thank you for your leadership as you led this board to so many amazing feats over the past years. And I now present to you a plaque as a thank you for all that you've done, and congratulations.
Okay, Dr. Regina Hawley has many ties to this great school district. A Pittsburgh Oliver graduate, a proud PPS parent and grandparent, a former special education teacher, and retired innovative principal. When retirement afforded her the opportunity to relax in 2010, she continued to serve. Now, after 2 terms of serving as District 2, Dr. Hawley will depart with the board as a champion for equity, special education rights, and leader of public education. In almost a decade, and she be yelling at me. In almost a decade, Dr. Hawley has represented PPS and the board on the national front with the Council of Urban Boards and Education, CUBE. In addition to 3 terms as board president, Dr. Hawley has served as the Title I liaison and chair of the Education, Charter School, and District Sustainability Committees. The PSBA has been honoring long-term school directors for their volunteer service to their communities. I'm gonna bring up Ms. Foss for a presentation.
I refuse to do that because once I start, I can't stop. Dr. Hawley, the Pennsylvania School Board Association acknowledges any school board member who has worked at least 8 years in any district. You have worked, don't do that, tirelessly for the students, the parents, the staff, the communities in this wonderful district of the city of Pittsburgh. Your knowledge and your leadership will forever be felt. Dr. Hawley, my parting words to you, and I quote, "Let me make this perfectly clear." Let me make this perfectly clear. Thank you for all that you have done, and you definitely will be missed. Thank you, and please come up and accept this award from PSBA. Let me make this perfectly clear.
Okay, please let's welcome District 2, Pittsburgh Dilworth for a special performance. Thank you, Pittsburgh Dilworth, for that rousing performance. If I could have Dr. Holly please come back up and for some special remarks from Dr. Russell Patterson, Principal, Pittsburgh Faison.
Appreciate Dilworth had us jamming before we presented Dr. Holly with this. That only fits, doesn't it? But what can I say? The words have already been said. So many words have been said, but advocate would be the word that I would use. I met Dr. Holly as a young 23-year-old, which was just a few years ago, intern at Lincoln School, and she picked me up to be a teacher. I think we worked together after that for about 10 years, 10 or 11 years. But I'm gonna just say two things, and she's been my mentor and continues to be my mentor, but I am excited and a little bit nervous. So I'm excited about this next chapter, like what's it gonna bring? That's exciting. I'm also a little bit nervous about this time that she's going to have on her hands, because I'm not going to sit up and say I'm going to miss Dr. Holly, because guess what? She's going to still be in our schools, and she's going to still be bossing us around and telling us what we need to be doing, and let me make this clear and all of that good stuff. But we can't say enough words about how much we love Dr. Holly, and this is just a small token of our appreciation. So thank you, Dr. Holly. We love you.
Wait a minute, Dr. Holly. Wait a minute, Dr. Holly. We have one last surprise for you, which Dr. Hamlet will present.
It's big, so I'm gonna hold it for you right now as I talk. So, Dr. Holly, what can I say about Dr. Holly? Oh my gosh. Whenever I would get these phone calls and it started with, Dr. Hamlet, it was gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem. But truly, truly, really appreciate you, support you. You've been my staunch advocate since I've arrived. You pushed me, made sure that I stayed focused on what's really important, the students. Always helping me support and also guide and get to this place that we call equity and excellence. That will never stop. That's why we're going to continue something tonight. But to you, this is not an ending, I'm sure, not an ending, but a continuation, like Dr. Patterson said, of your support in another way to our children, our faculty and staff, and our employees in Pittsburgh Public Schools. I love you. That's what I can say, all right? Now, we're going to have her open this up right now. Right? I'm gonna hold it for you.
And this is one of my former students. Congratulations. Okay, thank you, everyone. This concludes this evening's special board presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Pugh. And before we go continue with our meeting, I'd really like to acknowledge all our wonderful student performers this evening. So if we can have a show our appreciation. We're going to take 1 minute. We'll be back in 1 minute. We'll begin this evening with the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit. Mr. Weiss, may we please have a roll call?
Mr. Carter?
Present.
Ms. Edwards?
Here.
Ms. Falls?
Present.
Dr. Hawley?
Present. Here.
Mrs. Kalida?
She counted twice for that? I'm here.
Mrs. Kennedy is here. She stepped out. Mr. Udine?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Wren?
Here.
All members present.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Will board members please turn to the minutes from last month? Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions? I'd like to have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of October 30th, 2019 legislative meeting for Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kalida, second by Ms. Falls. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes stand approved. There is no business for the Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Committee Report on Education. The Committee Report on Business Finance and includes agenda items 25.01 through 26.02 is before you. Are there any questions or comments that were not answered in agenda review? If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion and a second for a roll call vote? Motion by Ms. Wilson, second by Mr. Carter. Mr. Weiss, may we please have a roll call vote?
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Falls?
Yes.
Dr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalida?
Yes.
Mr. Udine?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wren?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 8-0.
Take it, you?
No, let me give me.
Oh, Ms.
Oh, she back? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I didn't see you come in.
That's all right.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
it's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Item 28.01 is the Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit Financial and Travel Report for October 2019. Are there any questions or comments on the report? If there are no questions or comments, I'd like a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kennedy, second by Ms. Falls. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. This meeting's adjourned. I would like to call the November 2019 meeting of the Pittsburgh Public Schools to order. Mr. Weiss, can we please have a roll call?
Mr. Carter?
Here.
Ms. Edwards?
Here.
Ms. Falls?
Present.
Dr. Hawley?
Here.
Mrs. Kalida?
Here.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Present.
Mr. Udine?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Wren?
Here.
All members present.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Regina Hawley to share our core beliefs and commitments.
Thank you. We will educate all children to their highest level of academic achievement. We will provide a safe and orderly environment for all students and employees. We will provide efficient and effective support for all students, families, teachers, and administrators. We will distribute resources in an efficient and equitable manner to address the needs of all students to the maximum extent feasible. And lastly, we will improve public confidence and encourage strong parent-community engagement in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Will the board members please turn to the minutes? Tonight, we will be approving the minutes for October 23rd, 2019 special legislative session and the October 30th, 2019 legislative session. Are there any corrections, comments, or deletions? I'd like to have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes of October 23rd, 2019 special legislative session and the October 30th, 2019 legislative session.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kalita, second by Dr. Holly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes stand approved. At this time, I'd like to read the executive session statement. In addition to the executive sessions announced at the legislative meeting of October 30th, 2019, the board met in executive sessions on October 23rd, November 13th, and immediately before this legislative meeting to discuss various personnel matters that may include, but are not limited to, administrative vacancies and positions open and closed. The board does not vote at executive sessions. The committee report on education and student performance is before you, submitted by Ms. Sylvia Wilson, chairperson, and her committee. The report includes agenda items 5.01 through 8.11. If you would please turn to the agenda item 8.11, I'd like to give you the student suspension, transfer, and expulsion numbers for this month. 41 students suspended for 4 to 10 days. And 18 students expelled out of school for 11 days or more. There were no items pulled for further discussion at agenda review. Are there any questions or comments on the committee report on education at this time that were not answered in agenda review? Ms. Kennedy.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the 10 partners who gave us grants and donations that are stated in Section 5 and Section 8 of the agenda, but I'd like to turn to 8.01, and I had some of my questions answered in advance, but not all of them. I had asked about were the students responsible for any expenses at all, and I was told they're responsible for some, and I'd like to know what is the estimated cost per student.
They're Erica Fairby-Jones, Chief of Staff. The students are responsible for spending money.
Okay, so
I do not have an estimate on that.
Okay, so that's good, because now what if there's a student who really doesn't have available spending money from the family budget and wants to buy a tchotchke or something? Will someone help those students out?
It all depends how much it is, but I would be willing to help them, but it all depends how much it is.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure, because I don't want any student to feel left out if they're all buying a souvenir or whatnot. So that's good. Thank you, Mrs. Wren.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. If there are no further questions or concerns, do we have a motion and a second for a roll call vote on the committee report on education and student performance? Motion by Ms. Wilson.
Second.
Second by Ms. Edwards. Mr. Weiss, may we please have a roll call vote on the committee report on education and student performance?
Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Falls?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalida?
Yes.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Udine?
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wren?
Yes.
Report's approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. We will now move on to the committee report on business, finance, and minority business enterprises that is before you, submitted by Mr. Saluddin, chairperson, and his committee. The report includes agenda items 10.01 through 12.05. There are no items pulled for further discussion at agenda review. Are there any questions or comments on the committee report on business, finance, and minority business enterprises at this time that were not answered at agenda review? Mr. Joseph?
Hello, I just wanted to read in the account line for 10.02, which was a placeholder. The account line is 4810-010-1100-752.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Ms. Kennedy?
Thank you. We'll stay on 10.02. I had asked in advance of how many of the 19 chairs will be installed in each of these two schools, and I didn't receive a response. So how many are going to be installed at the Gifted Center and how many at Kappa?
We'll have to get you that response. It's all depending on the number of stairs, stairwells, and floors in each building, because for the chairs to work, you have an evacuation chair installed at each stairwell on each floor. So it depends on the size of the building, but there will be more in Kappa than at the Gifted Center.
Okay, I just was curious, but I'm glad to hear, or I was glad to see that this was being purchased, because it's really important for our students and staff members who may not be able to evacuate on their own feet, and so I think it's a very important purchase. Thank you. I would also say that I've been going out to the community in advance of next month's meeting to get feedback on their thoughts on the proposed millage increase, and I've actually heard back that they don't want, someone was very upset and was very against it, and even pointed out a past example of spending on media advertising, and people are not liking it. One person was really upset, but I've heard it from other people, and so with that type of feedback in mind from various constituents, I find I'll have to vote no on items 10.13 through 10.16. I just wanted to explain up front. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Wren.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. If there are no further questions or concerns, do we have a motion and a second for a roll call vote on the committee report on business, finance, and minority business enterprises? Second. Motion by Mr. Udine, second by Ms. Falls. Mr. Weiss, may we please have a roll call vote on the report on business and finance and minority business enterprises?
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Falls?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalida?
Yes.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Yes on the report as a whole, no on items 10.13, 10.14, 10.15, and 10.16.
Mr. Udine?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Wren?
Yes on the report on the whole, no on 10.03, 10.05, 10.07 and 8, and 10.10 to .16. And for similar reasons as Ms. Kennedy stated, while I think the advertising is valuable, I think just at this time it should be held off on. Thank you.
Report's approved with the no votes as stated, and they'll appear in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. We will now move to the Human Resource Report, items 13.01, that includes addendums A, B, and C, submitted by Ms. Sylvia Wilson, chairperson in her committee. Are there any questions or comments on the report? If there are no questions or comments, may we have a motion and a second for a roll call vote on the Human Resource Report?
Sorry, Ms.
Oh, I'm
Wren.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms.
do
Edwards. I'm
have-
sorry.
It's all right. I have an abstention on agenda item 1301, full-time substitutes. The reason for my abstention is that Sonia Edwards is my daughter.
Okay, so we'll continue. I think I was asking for a motion and a second for a roll call vote.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Wilson, second by Ms. Kalida. Thank you. Mr. Weiss, may we please have a roll call vote on the Human Resource Report, including addendums A, B, and C?
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
The abstention is noted.
What?
Ms. Falls? Yes. Dr. Holly?
Yes on the report as a whole. I'm going to abstain on Q number 2 on page 13.
Mrs. Kalida?
Yes, as on the report as a whole, I'll abstain on payments authorized, number 3, page 16.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Udine? Yes. Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wren.
Yes.
Reports approved with the abstentions and votes noted.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. We will now move to items 16.01, 16.02, and 16.03, the Financial and Controllers Report for the month ending October 2019, and the EBE report for the month of November. Are there any questions or comments on these reports? Okay. Item 17.01 is a new business item. PRHC MOU Extension Resolution. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Dr. Holly.
Yes, as a board member and a member of the EAP group, I'm bringing this resolution forward to the board to extend their work and advocacy with the district to support equity for the children in the city of Pittsburgh that go to the Pittsburgh Public Schools. I'm hoping that this is received well. I know it will be from our board members and from our district personnel and from our solicitor. I want to thank Mr. Weiss for helping to craft this document for us. I'm excited about the movement that the district is going in terms of equity and support for all children. Thank you, Mrs. Wren.
Thank you, Dr. Holly. If there are no further questions and comments, may we have a motion and a second for a roll call vote?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Holly, second by Ms. Kennedy. Mr. Weiss, may we have a roll call vote?
Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Falls?
Yes.
Dr. Holly?
Yes.
Mrs. Kalida?
Yes.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wren?
Yes, and I wholeheartedly second Dr. Holly's comments on that.
The resolution is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Are there any announcements to be brought before us this evening that do not require a legislative vote? Ms. Falls. She had her hand up first.
How come everybody always looks at me first? I wonder why. I know, I'm just waiting, I'm eager. First of all, once again, even with the acknowledgement that we had, and was so very lovely, I really would like to, again, thank Dr. Holly, Mrs. Kalida, and Ms. Wren. It's been a pleasure to work with you. We've had our ups and downs, but I think we've accomplished a lot with you and with all your knowledge and experience. So truly want to thank you, again, on behalf of students, parents, communities in the district. I know I will call upon your expertise, whether you want me to or not. I will call for some help and some guidance and some things that I may need some guidance with. So thank you again for all of your service to this district and everyone. I would like to mention tomorrow at Pittsburgh Phillips, there is going to be at 4:30 to 5:30 a meeting being held on a potential proposition for a medical marijuana dispensary that has been decided that a place to have it is on East Carson Street. It does not meet the regulations further close to the school, but a waiver could be obtained, but we need to get the input from a lot of people. So whether you're listening, whether you live there, whether you have children, whether you don't, whether you're from anywhere in the city, I ask you to please come because this decision, again, will be made hopefully soon with the cooperation of everybody and being guided by the law department. I just want to commend CTE, Ms. Mike, for an absolutely wonderful job that was done November 14th at Greenway, the CTE Higher Learning. The entire place was absolutely packed with partners of all different occupations. It was the most organized event I've been to in a very, very long time. The feedback has been wonderful from the students, from the partners. Already Ms. Mike tells me there's more people who want to get involved for next year. And the students, I have never seen behavior, and I'm going to be honest with you, of seniors who were so absolutely wonderful as that day. So it was a win-win-win-win-win situation for everyone. And it really was networking, because one group was talking to another group of partners, and they were even making connections. So it was a wonderful opportunity for our students. One of the world's leading companies has selected Pittsburgh South Hills 6-8 as a state finalist in the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow's Innovative Competition. The middle school was one of 300 finalists selected nationwide, and one of six in the state to move on to the next round of competition. Selected from a pool of more than 2,000 entries nationwide, every Pittsburgh South Hills classroom will receive a Samsung tablet for their classroom. Each state finalist has the opportunity to advance to a future and further phase of the contest to win additional prizes and educational opportunities. If chosen, South Hills could receive a Samsung Technology Prize and move to the national phase. There are 4 phases to which the prizes can range from $15,000 to $100,000. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful, what we could do with that. And again, as usual, please keep your thoughts and prayers for our military. We've recently heard in the news of 2 lost soldiers. So please, past, present, and future, for those men and women who are fighting for our country, for us to even be sitting here talking. So thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wren, once again.
Thank you, Ms. Falls. Ms. Kalida.
So y'all know I don't talk ever during this portion. So I've saved it all for right now, nor do I ever prepare remarks, but I want to make sure I covered a few things. So just as a kind of farewell, I want to thank the residents of District 6 for allowing me the pleasure to serve on this board for the past 4 years. It's been one of the hardest and most rewarding times in my life. I've been honored to work with many of my fellow board members, past and present, and members of the administration, teachers, principals, solicitors, and most importantly, students throughout this time. I hope that the legacy that I can leave with this board is one that was passed down to me from the legendary Tom Sumter, a legacy of policy. As new members begin their terms and current members continue their journey, I hope you remember the power that you hold and the difference that you can make. We must be brave and stand up for students in PPS and know that we have the power to affect their everyday lives. From my first piece of policy, the transgender, gender nonconforming policy, to the introduction of a sanctuary schools resolution, keeping guns out of our schools, a K-2 suspension ban, ushering through of our equity policy, and most recently our work on the MOU with the city of Pittsburgh, we have been brave. The board has reshaped the conversation on how the district looks at tax abatements and taken our place at the table in a push for affordable housing and support of union jobs. We have stood up to systemic racism, to poverty pimps, and outright discrimination in our community, all with a strong backbone and with as much grace as possible in the face of adversity. I can point to a lot of items that I'm proud of, and I hope that others are proud of as well. But I also want you to remember that none of this work can be done without community input. This is not a job of top-down decrees, but rather a chance to lead from the ground up. We must continue to listen to the struggles of students, teachers, parents, community members, principals, and our own employees. We must weigh all of this with our ability to discern what is best for students. It is on this board to look past the negative narratives and unjustified claims and instead lift up the amazing work that we know we can continue. Without our members in the community groups, activist organizations, unions, and in our neighborhoods, we cannot have a solid grasp on the needs of those we serve. Please continue to value the work that these organizations do and invite them and our students to the table. We've come a long way in the past 4 years. We've emerged from a time of overzealous corporate reformers. We have listened to the community. We've stopped school closures. We've stood up against Harrisburg and charter school expansion and pushed to reform an unnecessary and an underperforming secondary system of education that we know doesn't serve our students. We have lifted up student voice. We have stood strong against racism. We have stood up to other elected officials who have tried to diminish our lawful powers. And for those that remain, I hope you will continue this charge forward. Do not be bullied by those who think they wield more power than you. Do not be afraid to speak up, even if you're the lone voice of reason in the room. Speak up against racism on behalf of equity. Continue to stand up for our students with disabilities, our LGBTQIA+ students, our students of color who are disproportionately punished in our schools, our English language learners, and our students experiencing poverty and homelessness. Stand up for teachers who love our children and always look for solutions when you ask yourself, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? I wish you guys all nothing but the best on the board and in your respective futures. Again, thank you for the chance to serve the community, and remember, policy is your path forward. Thank you.
And what would we have done if you had prepared something? That's what I want to know.
Sounded a little prepared, but anyway, no, very nice. Ms. Falls, you said there was something you wanted to add. Okay, Dr. Holly?
Well, there's nothing else I can say much after that. And I'm not going to either. I think she did a fantastic job. I can say ditto, 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 all from top to bottom, in between and around. Oh, yeah, give me a chance. I'm really extremely proud to have supported and worked for and was chosen to represent District 2. But as I tell District 2 parents and community members and my neighbors around me, it's not just about District 2, it's about the whole school district. So I'm very proud of the work that we have done as a board, my colleagues, past, my present colleagues that are sitting with us today, and even on the phone with Kevin, and those that will be coming on after we are no longer in these seats. But as I know the three of us that will be going off the board, we will still be advocates for the school district and for the children. I want to say thank you to all of the staff. Sometimes I know I'm very forceful about what I want, so I'm going to say it again.
Let me be perfectly clear.
Where I want to make sure that we have the furniture needs for, sit back, sit back, sit back, sit back. Where is she at? Because I want to be able to see Ms. Capretta. Thank you for all that you've done for a school that I support wholeheartedly, and hope that you'll continue to support, and I'll be watching that. I have a heart for Conroy because they have done so much for the children who are getting the least. So I just want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to for those youngsters. To my colleagues that are still here and around the table, but let me still go back to the staff. Excuse me for calling you on a Sunday afternoon. I'm looking at Scott. What do I do? Scott is like, please, like, I can feel it through the phone. I can feel it through the text message. I can feel it through his email back to me. Thank you so much for being so supportive in all my technology needs. And I don't know what I can say about Mr. Weiss, because I call him like, why are you calling me at 7 o'clock in the morning? Why are you texting at 5? And this is the morning, because you know I'm not a morning person. So when I'm texting somebody that early, you know it's serious. Help me out here. I need help here. What do I do? So I want to thank Mr. Weiss for all he's done. And also to the superintendent. I'm sorry I texted you in those wee hours of the night or early in the morning. But, you know, when I'm thinking about it, you know, it comes to my mind. I love my secretary. She's been wonderful. Anything I ask her to do, she's always there and supportive of me. And I'm not going to forget Elaine, because I'll run in the middle of the day, my secretary, what? And she calms me down, like, girl, you need to calm down. You know, come here. You know, and she'll do, thank you so much for all that you do. And all of the secretaries on this floor, they're really nice. I speak to Miss Debbie out there, she's like, here she comes again. I hope she's not asking for something. But thank you so much for all that you do for the children. But to my colleagues around the table, we love to challenge each other on different issues. But one of the things that I'm very proud of is that the public never gets to see when we're really in there having a disagreement. You know, when we come out here, we are the professionals that we are supposed to be. And I want to thank you for that. Because we don't need to show the world that we can't get along. And we can get along. We don't always agree with everything that is coming to us. But we know how to do it in a professional manner that shows the rest of the city that it can be done. Elected officials can work together as a group and do it in such a way that it's meaningful, that it's respectful, and that we are showing humanity towards each other. And from that, hopefully it will spill over into our district and even down into our schools and classrooms. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to work with you. I want to continue to work with you, and I wish the board the best. And you're getting 3 really good new people on and a returning board member on that will really service this district well. And I'm really excited about what is going to happen for you on December 1st. Thank you.
Ms. Falls, do you want to go now?
Yes.
I just don't want you to leave unfinished business.
I know, I know. In November 12th, we received some sad news. Actually, it came from administration and then from Mrs. Wren. A lot of you, and some may not know, that Mr. Richard Levette was someone who in our district came and spoke to our children and on the subject of opioid overdoses because he had lost his son to that. I was very fortunate. Mrs. Wren called me one night and I had no idea what she was talking about. And she was just so excited because she knew, and she'll tell you personally, and she said, I think I have a match for you. And I said, uh-oh, here comes another job. And fortunately, I am so grateful for having the opportunity to have worked with Mr. Levette. Mr. Levette went into our schools. He worked with staff on scheduling. I will never forget the day I was in a classroom with him and one of the teachers said, Mr. Levette, here comes a bad class. And my heart kind of fell because I don't like bad classes, like saying that. But you could have heard a pin drop in that room. There was never anything that that man said that he didn't impact. I saw kids taking off their headphones, which I shouldn't have in the first place, but kids taking off their headphones. Saw kids going from this position to this position. Mr. Levette impacted lives. Kids came to him personally and told them about their drug problem, their parents, their friends. Mr. Levette passed away in November, and we're shocked. This district has lost a real asset. Mrs. Wren and I went on Sunday to his services, and a friend went to his services, and I had not met his wife and his daughter, but when I did meet them, they associated my name with Pittsburgh Public Schools. Very proud of that. Where we are right now is Franco Harris was one of the people who did his eulogy. And I spoke with Mr. Harris, and I said to him, we're going to try to carry on his legacy. And I said to Mr. Harris, if you could get some of his slides or some of his videos from his family and work with them, that I would like to make sure that gets carried on. And Mr. Harris, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were there too, when he said a foundation is going to be started. So I hope that I can really work with him, and I don't know if you have opportunities when you're not working. But when you meet someone who changes your life, it was a Mr. Levette. So please keep his wife and his daughter, because you know now they lost a brother, a son, a husband, and a father. I thank you for giving me that opportunity to have that wonderful man come into my life and to this district. Thank you, Ms. Wren.
Thank you, Ms. Falls. Dr. Hawley, do you have one thing to add? Okay.
You know what, I
Then
totally
Ms.
forgot.
Kennedy.
When I move on to my new work of advocacy, I had to be trained. You know, I always look to my mentor, even though she's gone, Barbara Sizemore, for the work that she's done in advocacy. But now it's the implementation of that advocacy that's going to be a little bit different. And I needed to say this. I want to thank him for doing some training for me, and I'm hoping that the superintendent will allow me to come back and look at some more of the training that is happening in the district. But I want to thank Dr. Walters, Wayne Walters, for training me to do professional development in such a way that's engaging to my constituents and my public that I work with. So I needed to say that. I always want to thank people who are definitely helping me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley. Ms. Kennedy and then Ms. Studine, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Wren. I'd like to thank our departing colleagues, and you'll always be colleagues, whether you're current colleagues or immediate past colleagues. And although we don't always agree on how to get to a point, and Dr. Hawley was correct, sometimes it's not pretty behind the scenes when we're having discussions. In the end, we're all doing what we believe is the best course for our students. And we all keep that in mind. We're not here for ourselves. We are here for the students, current and future. Because if we're not making good decisions now, there is no future. And we want our current students to be the future leaders. And so, did we always agree? Absolutely not. Is that surprising? Absolutely not. But I think we're all did what we believe is best. So Mara, when you started running, I had never even heard your name before, but not surprising because we are from different communities. We didn't overlap in any of our other activities, different generations and whatnot. But we got to know you and got to know where your passions lie. Linda and I have a different relationship. We were friends beforehand, belonging to the same congregation. But I met her years and years ago when there was an event being hosted by our congregation's teens. And everybody needed to, not everybody, a lot of us said, yeah, we'll house one or two of teens from out of the area. So this was teens coming in from across the state, southern New Jersey, whatever. And then I heard about this Wren family. And every time I heard the number of teens they were housing, it kept increasing. I know it ended up 12, 13, 14, I don't even remember. I was like, who are they? And be willing to take on this many teens for a weekend event. And it was a weekend of service that happens every year on Martin Luther King weekend. So you're not just giving them food, you're helping getting them places to do community service. So that was the beginning of my knowledge of the Wren family and my friendship with Linda and her husband Ed. So it's been a wonderful journey going back to that point, but certainly a nice shared journey here on the board. And of course, I know our future journey will still continue to intersect. And Dr. Holly, I first heard about you long before I ever met you. I've been coming to board meetings, hearings, whatnot, going back to when my children, who are now in their mid-20s, were in early elementary school. And periodically, you're hanging out with other parents. You start hearing, especially at public hearings, things about other schools, good, bad, and different. And whenever Dr. Holly's name came up, it was always positive. Then I met her, because during the zillion lengthy public hearings for the right-sizing plan, Dr. Holly came out. She came out with her families, and she came out and advocated on behalf of her families. And I still remember some of her words and talking about embracing the students that would be added as they added grades, expanding her school from a K to 5 to a K to 8. And they would do right by them. And by golly, she always does right by all the students. Now, lest you think that we just know her in this district and on this board, what some of you may not know is she, all this time, even though she's been quote unquote retired, she does stuff outside this district on behalf of education. She goes into other districts and helps administer the NAEP, it's the NAEP, National, I don't even know what NAEP completely stands for, but she goes into different schools and different districts and helps to administer this. And so she has received a good reputation in those districts because even though she's not in there leading and doing stuff, they get to know her. She gives up her Saturdays approximately once a month in the morning, helping to administer SAT exams so that our students who choose to go to college have that opportunity to have very good proctors. She has been a long advocate of making sure kids can get on trips that they may not otherwise afford and making sure it happens. And I can't say enough good things. These are just a few examples because if I say much more, I'm going to start crying. And so I don't want to do that. But I do want to thank my 3 departing colleagues with all my heart. And now I know Dr. Holly will no longer be going like this if I say something that she has done that to me. But that's okay. But thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. I want to just take a moment to associate myself with the complimentary comments of my colleagues directed toward the 3 departing board members. I want to thank you for your combativeness and willingness to engage in pursuit of the best possible way forward for the kids in this school district. That's what it's about. It's not about us, it's about them. And you demonstrate the kind of advocacy that we could only hope that the members who will replace you could bring a portion of. Thank you for welcoming me into this family. And Ms. Wren, I want to thank you also for the leadership that you have given this board during a very testy year. Your timing is impeccable. But your leadership, your soft, thoughtful leadership made it doable and more successful, and I want to thank you for that. I'd like to just add one other note to acknowledge the loss of a legacy family member in the Hill District. Many of you know the history of Robert R. Lavelle and the Lavelle Real Estate Agency and Dwelling House Savings and Loan. Beside Mr. Lavelle, throughout his career, was his wonderful wife, Ada Lavelle. She lived until a couple weeks ago. She lived to be 99 years old. And there are so many people who claim her as their surrogate mother and teacher and auntie. Her grandson is the current city councilman, Robert Lavelle. And I just want to thank the Lavelle family for opening their hearts this week and receiving so many people who loved Aunt Ada, and wish them all the best in her memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Ms. Edwards?
I also just want to take the opportunity to thank Mrs. Wren, Dr. Hawley. We go back, we're both retirees of the school district of Pittsburgh. Mrs. Kalida for showing me the way and teaching me the way. Since I was a retiree, I thought I knew the way, and then I found out that there was a lot more for me to learn, and there is still more for me to learn. But I thank you for setting an example. So with gratitude and your tireless dedication, you do leave an impression on the ones of us who are left. I wish you a happy Thanksgiving, that to everybody, and wish that you enjoy your new life. Thank you.
What the heck, right, Ms. Wilson?
After everything that everyone has said, it really doesn't leave any words. It really doesn't leave any words. So you heard all kinds of accolades already this evening. It's felt and shared by so many. So all I can do is just say thank you for your time to our children and to those who work so hard in this district to make sure that our children are getting what they deserve. So thank you, all three of you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mrs. Wren. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of everyone else. Like Ms. Wilson said, everyone said everything that needed to be said. I said this is a bittersweet goodbye for me. 4 years ago, we all ran together, and Dr. Hawley ran for her second term. And so as I enter my second term, kind of with all my teammates departing, it is bittersweet. We agreed, we've disagreed, we've agreed to disagree, and it's all been out of respect and love. And, Dr. Hawley, much thanks to you for some of the guidance that you've shown early on. You would take my calls and answer my questions, even right after we got into a disagreement over an issue, and I will always appreciate the level of, respect and diplomacy that you showed throughout the time that we've served together. Linda, I've had an awesome time working with you since we've started. We've been on the Business and Finance Committee together, We're now in the executive committee together, and it's been an awesome 4 years. And I think that the residents of District 4 have been served by you in your position. And to my little tiny ninja in crime, Maura Kalida, I mean, we've had such a good time together as kind of the resident young people on the school board. You have, you know, spoken your mind and your truth with serious conviction, and you fought for other people who have served in your seat didn't think to fight for. And, you know, you took on the challenges, and you took on some of our most powerful political leaders in the process, and have made a lasting impression with the progressive policy ideas that you put forward and we were able to pass. And the residents of District 6, you know, while they are losing a stalwart, a progressive education stalwart, I look forward to working with the incoming directors in all 3 seats. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. I just have a few pages, just 10 pages or so, if that's okay. No. There's really not much you can add to everything. I just want to add that healthy discourse is the word I like to use to describe when we disagree. And all of us always do, you know, we look through the lens of what's best for the students. And I've enjoyed work, even when it hasn't been like a bed of roses, I've still enjoyed working with you. And none of it was ever none of our arguments are ever personal. At least to me. It's like, but I've grown on the board. I have like the deepest respect for people who serve on the board. I know it can be just crazy at times, and there's a lot to juggle, and people have no idea what serving on the board entails. So my deepest respect for you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have worked with all of you. And that goes out to the staff and teachers as well. So many people are so dedicated and wonderful in this district that I'll miss it, but I don't plan to be away totally. You'll still see me peeking. And, you know, I'll miss Ira's 7 a.m. texts and Erica's "this is easy," the easy button, as to like the degree of complexity in the phone call that's about to come my way and all that good stuff. I do want to say, since Dr. Hawley took a second to get one last plea for flexible seating, I'd feel remiss if I didn't remind Dr. Hamlet to always consider the option of earlier start times. Later. You can tell I'm tired. I'm just getting back on my feet from being sick. With all seriousness, this has been a great opportunity and a tremendous honor, and I really appreciate it. And as far as Mr. Levitt, that's one of the things where, you know, serving on the board and your personal life, like Pam, you'll find this, it dovetails, like it becomes your life, if, you know, in so many ways. And one of those ways was when my husband met Rich Levitt. He was actually out canvassing for political candidates out by the airport, and he couldn't wait to tell me about him. He said, "You got to meet this guy. You got to meet this guy. You'll love him. You will love him." And he doesn't usually oversell when he says that, so I agreed to meet with him and instantly fell in love. And then my husband accused me of stealing his friend because Rich he was so eager to reach out and talk to the students of PPS, and you couldn't contain his enthusiasm. When I said, "I think we can work with you, I just have to check," you know, as board member, never promise anything till you check, right? And so we looped him in, and he got so much out of it. I had dinner with him during the summer. He said, "I can't wait to get back to the schools. I miss the kids so much." And I really feel like he adopted us. He adopted PPS. And when I heard of his passing, the first thing I thought is he was about to meet with principals, and I thought he must have been so looking forward to that. I'm sorry, Cindy, I'm bringing it up. But we do want to continue the legacy of his legacy. He never asked for a dime. He never asked for thank yous. He just wanted to do the work. And we have so many people that want to reach out and help our students. And I think it's really important that we maintain those connections with the community, because the community really does want to work with us and really does want to help our kids. You know, it takes a village, and I think that mindset will take us all very far. And I can't really think of anything to add beyond that, but I know that I told Mr. Weiss he could have the last word tonight, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
I don't want the last word, but I would like to, first of all, thank the directors for their kind words, and you'll be free of my 7 a.m. text now. But I would like to say that I've been associated with this district since 1996. It's been an honor to work with the second largest school district in Pennsylvania. It's an honor to do that. And school directors are the only elected officials that are not paid. People often forget that. And I've spent a lot of time with a lot of school directors over the 40-plus years I've been doing this. Most of them, and certainly all the ones I've dealt with here, are very dedicated. This is a selfless job, and I just want to thank the directors who are leaving. I've enjoyed working with you, and I look forward to those coming on board. But this is not an easy job. It's not easy to be in this arena and fight these battles, and you often make no friends and lots of enemies. So again, thank you to all three of you who are leaving, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. So if there are no more, I lost my place here with all that. If there are no more announcements, I'd like a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kennedy, second by Ms. Kalida. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.